Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 24. Let's talk about expectations, both the clients as well as our own. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robin Lewis. I became a full-time furniture maker at the beginning of this year, about 7 months ago. And this channel is dedicated to figuring out this business process and showing behind the scenes of the things that I do right and sometimes the things I do wrong. One of the main reasons I'm talking about this today is because I've come across something that I think pretty much any furniture maker is going to experience at some point. And sometimes you can manage it correctly. Other times there's just nothing you can do. And this is a good example of it. I'm working on this silky oak tabletop for a client, and this corner was recently rounded upon their requests. Now the conversation went something along the lines of, we want to make sure that this is child safe, so can you please round the corners? And I said, absolutely. I've got kids of my own and I know what's involved. I'm going to round over that corner. And that was it. I then cut the table to length, rounded the corners, sent a picture to the client, and they've asked me, can they make this corner a bit tighter, a bit shorter? Now, unfortunately, the implication of that means that I have to cut the whole table shorter, and I'm now cutting into that length that they had originally wanted. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, I should have explained what this radius is gonna be. I'm gonna do a 50 millimeter radius on the corner. But the issue with that is a lot of clients don't know what that looks like. They don't know how that translates into a table. To be honest, even I don't necessarily know exactly what that's going to look like on a table of varying sizes until I actually cut it. So it's always a bit of a ballpark idea and then seeing what it looks like after it's been cut. And so to expect the client to have a good understanding of exactly what they want, I don't think that's necessarily fair for all clients. Maybe some will have a great idea of what a 20 millimeter, 50 millimeter, etc. radius will look like. But we as the furniture makers, we shouldn't expect them to know that. And then on the other side, you might be saying, well, I should have sent them pictures of the different sizes. But a lot of the clients that I've dealt with this year, they don't want to go into those details. They don't want to discuss a 20 millimeter roundover versus a 30 millimeter roundover. They just want the thing done. They just want to cut. They just want it child friendly. So if I start going back to the client saying, do you like this? Do you like this? What about this? What about this? I really stand to potentially annoy them and be the furniture maker that they don't want to deal with in the future. So there's this balancing act between following their request or should I say interpreting their request based on the type of people that they are, based on whether they look very picky, etc. So I'm trying to interpret this, but also making sure that I get it right the first time so I don't waste my time as well as wasting material like it's going to happen here. Now in this case, it's quite frustrating because I did have a third way of making sure that this was right, and this is a lesson learned for me, and I will get this right next time. I actually had the clients on site looking at the table just to get a feel for it, to see if there was anything they wanted to change, and that's when the roundover conversation came up. So I could have very easily drawn it onto the table so they could have seen it while they were here, and we would have got a lot closer. So yesterday I got an email from someone. They were recommended me through Facebook, which is just such an incredible feeling. You know, I've only been doing this for 7 months now, and admittedly it was a couple of friends who recommended me, but it is such an amazing and humbling experience to have someone ring up and say, you've been recommended, I want you to build me something. You know, I'm sure as I get further and further into this, that feeling will taper off. But for now, it is such a high to go through that. Anyway, this new quote came through. Someone is looking for an office desk. And something I find is happening quite often when I get these quotes is my expectation is that this person wants the greatest, most epic, most outlandish piece of furniture that they can imagine. One of the furniture makers that we've interviewed on the Shop Store podcast, Nick Padula, I think it was him that said, as a furniture maker and designer, when someone comes to him for a piece of furniture, it's his job to try and expand their horizons in terms of the design. So they come to him and say, we want a table, and he says, well, I can give you a table, or we can do this crazy thing and then you could have an amazing table. And that's sort of our role as the furniture maker. It's doing 4 legs and a top is easy, but let's push the envelope so that I get to do something interesting and you get something that is unique. So it needs to be a two-way street. Both parties need to be relatively happy. So when clients come to me and say, I would like something built, my mind is immediately going to, this person wants the Mona Lisa. They want the most amazing, unique, fascinating table that the mind can conceive. That's my expectation. But almost every time it comes back with, I just want it to be functional. It doesn't have to be flash. I'm trying to keep the cost down, so as long as it just gets the job done. And this latest quote is exactly the same thing. This person wanted an office desk and I was coming up with all these cool ideas. And in the consultation, in that initial phone call, she said to me she just wants some metal legs attached to a timber panel, which is fine. I mean, this is work. I'm not complaining about having the work, but I need to rein in my expectations about what a big furniture maker is. The majority of my work, my sort of bread and butter, is probably going to be basic, simple stuff. And then every now and then someone comes along and asks for something outlandish. I think it's also got a lot to do with the clientele that are booking me at this stage. I don't have a trusted name here in Townsville. There's a guy, Remy. He's the guy in Townsville. So anyone who wants a fancy piece of furniture, they're going to go to him. So it's going to take some time before I can crack into that. And I think that's when the real interesting work will start happening. But I've got to slow down when I read these emails, that my mind goes off in this direction of crazy, crazy, crazy. I need to bring it down a notch and realize that the majority of people just want something that's functional. Guess what I'm doing today? I'm recording an episode of the Shop Store podcast today, and one of the topics that I want to discuss with Brian and Joey, yes, hello, is, yeah, can you give me a sec? I'm trying to, hold on. Do you mind? Can you just hold your horses? Are we good? One of the things that I want to get their advice and opinions on is finding work. You know, where do they find work in the downtimes? Because one thing I was expecting with this type of work is that once you get the work, the ball starts rolling, and then from there it just continues. I have been quite surprised by how I started the year with lots of work. I was busy, and now it's just nothing. I am currently working on something, which is this silky oak top. But the way the client's been paying me for that has been fortnightly installments. So I don't have a big chunk of money coming at the end of this. He's essentially all paid up. Now I just need to deliver. So at this stage, I don't have my next paycheck coming in. I don't have any money. I've got my YouTube AdSense revenue, which used to be pretty good, but now it's not an income. So yeah, suddenly I don't actually know where my next bit of income is coming from. And I didn't think that it would be so up and down. All right, I have set up the second light for this here, which is going to be my filming area. So essentially standing here. So I've got the key lights up there, which is, it's set pretty dimly at the minute, just so it doesn't compete with those other lights. And then this one's just been plugged in. The color temperature's wrong, but I'll adjust that. So now I've got the key key coming in. I've got my fill just to give it a bit more interest. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it. The only other thing I might do is this batten here. I might pull that off and put that up onto this joist, because then that's going to shine down, and essentially that will highlight my shoulders. That's when you light a scene, that's what you do. You need a key, a fill, and a top, and that highlights and defines your profile. So I might do that, and that'll be a nice easy win. I've just raised the silky oak table panel behind me. Probably should have been a 2-man lift, but I was able to maneuver it. So essentially I've lifted it up. So we're looking at it now. I'm then going to drop it down and then get it back onto the table to start finishing the top side. It's really beautiful stood up like this. Like what a cool piece of furniture. Just imagine just a wall of this. I think it's amazing. Anyway, I am taking the thumbnail picture now, which is why I've got it set up like this. I'm trying to use the scale of it to show its size, and with it stood up, you can see how long it is. And then once I've done that, I'll get it up and start working on the other side, finishing that. First coat of oil on the top side of the silky oak table. So this is the show face. It's come out great. I sanded this all the way up to 240. And it's pretty schmick. I'm happy with how this is turning out. So I'm going to do another at least 3 coats on top of this, because I need this to be rock solid, because it's going to be out in the elements. And then it'll be time for delivery. So really, this project is basically done. It's just about coming down every 18 hours, according to the tin, to lay down another coat. I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but I have another potential job cooking at the moment. I've gone back and forth with the client on something, a very simple office desk. She's double checking with her husband to make sure that they're happy with it, and then she's going to let me know. So she hasn't agreed on price, maybe a sticking point, maybe this is all for nothing, but we've had a lot of back and forth, and hopefully it'll turn into a new job. So really excited about that, because it's money's getting a bit tight and I need something to come in soon. And that's where we're going to leave this episode. I think it's been a bit of a short one. As I said at the beginning, I really wanted to touch on expectations, because it feels like I've been dealing with that a lot over the last 2 weeks. So I hope you got some value from this, and I will see you guys in the next one.